Hey everyone, and welcome. If you've ever looked at a website and dreamed of building the whole thing, from the pretty buttons to the powerhouse logic running behind them, then you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to walk through the complete 2025 roadmap to becoming a full-stack developer. So let's dive right in.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to tackle this journey in 5 clear steps. First, we'll get a handle on what the full stack role actually is. Then we'll look at why it's such an amazing career path. After that, we'll get our hands dirty with the core skills for building and managing an app. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a game plan for launching your career.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. What in the world does full stack even mean? Well, the easiest way to think about it is that these developers are like the master architects of the web. They don't just design the blueprints, they build the entire building from the foundation to the rooftop.
I mean, have you really ever stopped to think about it? Every single time you click a button, fill out a form, or see information just magically appear on your screen, someone had to build that whole system. And you know what? A lot of the time, it's not some massive specialized team. It can be a single, super skilled person who gets the whole picture. And yep, that person is the full stack developer. These folks are the ultimate all-arounders in the tech world. They handle the front end, which is everything you see and touch on a website. But they also handle the back end, the hidden engine room with all the servers, databases, and logic that makes everything actually work. So if we look at how this all breaks down, you can see where a full stack developer spends most of their time. The biggest piece of the pie at 40% is the front end, that user-facing part. Right behind it at 30% is the back-end logic. Then you've got another 20% dedicated to databases, managing all the data. And that last 10%, that's deployment, the critical step of actually getting the app online for the world to see. You really are covering the whole spectrum. Okay, so we get it. It's a big job that covers a lot of ground. But why is it one of the most sought-after careers in tech? Let's get into why this is such a huge advantage for you. Well, let's talk about the big one first, money. The earning potential here is frankly fantastic. We're talking an average global salary that starts around $90,000 and goes way up, often past $160,000. That kind of compensation really shows you how valuable these skills are. And it's not like these jobs are hard to find. The demand is absolutely massive. And this isn't just in one niche either. Whether you're talking about a scrappy startup trying to get a product off the ground fast, or a huge enterprise company that needs versatile engineers, these skills are always in high demand. But it's not just about the money and the jobs. There are a couple of other perks that are just as important. First, there's that incredible feeling of end-to-end ownership. You get to see a project go from just a random idea all the way to a finished product. And second, because you know so much across the tech stack, you're incredibly adaptable. Technology is always changing, and this skill set means you'll be able to change right along with it, setting you up for a seriously future-proof career. All right, now for the part I know you've been waiting for. Let's talk about the real meat and potatoes, the core technical roadmap. This is how you actually build a modern web application, step by step. It all boils down to these 4 key building blocks. You have to start with the web fundamentals, how the internet even works. From there, you master the front end, then you tackle the back end, and finally, you learn how to wrangle data with databases. Let's dig into each one. Okay, for the front end, after you've got your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript down, you're going to want a framework to build modern, complex user interfaces. And today, you've basically got 3 main players on the field. React, for Meta, is the most popular and in demand. It's super flexible. Then there's Angular, backed by Google. It's a bit more structured, which is why big companies love it for their massive applications. And finally, there's Vue.js, which is famous for being lightweight and really easy to pick up, making it a fantastic starting point. Now, over on the back end, the programming language you pick is going to point you toward a specific framework. If you're a fan of JavaScript, you can use Node.js to build incredibly fast and scalable apps. If Python is more your style, frameworks like Django and Flask are loved for their clean code and top-notch security. And if you're aiming for the corporate world, Java with Spring Boot is still an absolute powerhouse for enterprise-level work. So, where does all the data for your app actually live? Well, you'll be working with one of 2 main database types. First, you have SQL databases, like MySQL. Think of these as super organized spreadsheets with rigid tables and rows. They're perfect for structured data.
And then you've got the other side of the coin, NoSQL databases like MongoDB. These are more like flexible filing cabinets that store data in documents, which makes them awesome for apps that need to scale really fast or have data that changes a lot. So you've built the app. That's awesome. But building it is really only half the battle. Now you have to manage your code and actually get it out there for people to use. This is where we go from code on your computer to a live app in the cloud.
Professionally, this whole workflow really comes down to two absolutely crucial steps. First, you use a tool called Git for version control. It lets you track every single change to your code and work with a team without stepping on each other's toes. And second, you have to deploy your app to the cloud, which is just a fancy way of saying you make it live on the internet. And I really cannot stress this enough. Learning Git and GitHub is completely 100% non-negotiable for a modern developer. It is the industry standard. It's how you track changes, how you collaborate with others, and maybe most importantly for a beginner, it's how you build a public portfolio so employers can actually see your work. So, what does going live actually look like? Well, first, you pick a cloud platform like AWS or Google Cloud to host everything. Then, to make sure your app runs the same way everywhere, you'll probably package it up in something called a container using Docker. And finally, to make your life way easier, you'll set up a CI/CD pipeline. It basically automates all the testing and deployment for you. So every time you update your code, it goes live automatically. It takes care of all the boring, repetitive stuff. All right, we have covered a ton. We've talked about building the app, managing the app, and now for the grand finale. Turning all these skills into an actual paycheck. Let's talk about launching your career.
Here it is, your 3-step launch sequence. Step 1, build real projects. This is where you prove you can walk the walk. Step 2, getting certified can be a great way to make your resume stand out. And step 3, you have to actively prepare for the job market. That means polishing your resume, practicing for interviews, the whole deal.
Look, knowing the theory is great, but a portfolio of real, working projects is what gets you hired. Build things that actually do something. An e-commerce site? That shows you can handle complex logic like payments and inventory. A blog with user accounts? That proves you get authentication. A real-time chat app? Whoa, now you're showing off some advanced skills. This stuff is your resume. It's the proof in the pudding. And as you're building all this cool stuff, please never forget this one key idea. Your job isn't just to write lines of code. Your job is to build experiences. You're creating things that people will actually use. So you have to focus on making them useful, intuitive, and maybe even a little bit fun.
And that's it. That is the roadmap. Everything you need to get started is laid out right in front of you. So really, there's only one question left to ask, and it's the most important one of all. What will you build first?